1. The Dinosphere 1930s, the one-wheeled car. In the 1930s, British engineer J. Purves thought he cracked the future of transportation, a one-wheeled car. Called the Dinosphere, this futuristic-looking machine was designed to be more efficient and aerodynamic than normal cars. The problem? It was impossible to steer properly, and drivers inside the giant wheel had horrible visibility. Turns out, we need at least 4 wheels to drive safely. 2. The Ford Nucleon 1958, a nuclear-powered car. Imagine never needing to stop for gas again. In 1958, Ford engineers designed a nuclear-powered car. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of gasoline, the Ford Nucleon was meant to run on a tiny nuclear reactor like a rolling power plant. But there was one huge problem. Actually, several. First, nuclear power is extremely dangerous. Second, even the best nuclear tech at the time was way too bulky. And third, imagine getting into a fender bender and causing a nuclear meltdown. The idea was abandoned, and gas-powered cars won the race. 3. Tesla's wireless electricity 1900s. Nikola Tesla had a vision, a world where electricity traveled through the air, no wires needed. He built the Wardenclyffe Tower, a giant transmitter that could send power wirelessly. The problem? Investors pulled funding because they couldn't make money from free energy. Without support, Tesla's dream was abandoned. But today, companies are revisiting wireless charging for devices, proving Tesla was onto something. 4. The picture phone 1960. Early video calling. Decades before FaceTime and Zoom, AT&T introduced the picture phone, a telephone that let you see the person you were calling. It was an amazing concept, but in the 1960s, people weren't ready for video calls. The devices were huge, expensive, and required a special network. Not to mention, people liked the privacy of voice calls. It failed, but today, we basically carry picture phones in our pockets. 5. The steam-powered car 1800s. Before gasoline engines, steam-powered cars were the future. They were quieter, smoother, and even more powerful. But they had one big issue. They took forever to start. Drivers had to wait 30 to 40 minutes for the steam pressure to build up. When gasoline cars arrived with instant startup, steam engines disappeared almost overnight. 6. The Xerox Alto 1973. The first personal computer. Before Windows, before Apple. There was the Xerox Alto. It had a graphical interface, a mouse, and networking. Basically everything modern computers use today, but Xerox didn't market it properly, and instead, Apple and Microsoft borrowed the ideas and became the giants of the PC world. 7. The mechanical TV, 1920s-1930s. Before electronic TV, inventors tried making mechanical televisions using spinning disc. They actually worked, but the picture quality was terrible. Once electronic TV appeared, mechanical ones became obsolete overnight. 8. The Floating Hotel 1988. A luxury resort on water. Imagine a massive, 5-star hotel floating on the ocean, traveling to different exotic locations. That's exactly what the Four Seasons Barrier Reef Resort was in 1988, a fully functional luxury hotel built to move. The problem? Bad management, high costs, and a tropical cyclone that forced it to relocate. Eventually, it ended up stranded in North Korea, of all places. 9. The handwriting recognition PDA 1993. Apple Newton. Before iPhones and iPads, Apple tried to create a handwriting recognizing personal digital assistant PDA. The Apple Newton could take notes with a stylus and recognize words, but it was terrible at reading messy handwriting. The product was mocked in pop culture, and Steve Jobs later killed it off. But the Newton paved the way for modern tablets and touchscreens. 10. The Turbo Train 1960s. High-speed rail before its time. The Turbo Train was North America's first high-speed train, capable of speeds over 170 miles per hour. It was sleek, futuristic, and energy efficient. But the problem? The US and Canada didn't have the infrastructure for high-speed rail, and accidents made people doubt its safety. Meanwhile, Japan and Europe embraced high-speed trains, leaving the Turbo Train forgotten. 11. The Amphibious Car 1960s. The car that could swim. A car that doubles as a boat. Sounds awesome. The Amphicar, released in the 1960s, could drive on land and float on water. But despite being real, it had major issues. It was slow, expensive, and leaked water. Only 4,000 were ever made, and today, they're just a cool collector's item. 12. The Rejuvenate Face Mask 1999. Electric Beauty Treatment. Would you put an electric shock mask on your face to look younger? In the late 90s, the Rejuvenate mask promised to tone facial muscles using low-voltage electric pulses. But it was painful and comfortable and looked like a horror movie prop. Needless to say, it disappeared from store shelves. 13. The Segway 2001. The future of personal transport that wasn't. When the Segway was revealed in 2001, it was hyped as a game-changer, something that would revolutionize transportation. But despite its futuristic design, it was too expensive, too bulky, and too awkward for city life. Instead of replacing cars, it became a joke, used mostly by mall cops and tourists. Today, e-scooters and e-bikes dominate instead, proving the Segway was just too soon. 14. The Smell-O-Vision 1960. Movies with sense. What if you could smell what was happening in a movie? In 1960, theaters experimented with Smell-O-Vision, releasing scents into the audience to match scenes on screen. Sounds immersive, right? The problem, the smells often arrived too late or too early, and sometimes the whole theater just smelled weird. Audiences hated it, and the idea vanished. But who knows? Maybe VR and 4D theaters will bring it back one day. 15. The Google Glass 2013. Augmented reality glasses that flopped. Imagine hands-free internet access right in front of your eyes. Google Glass was supposed to be the future of augmented reality, letting users check messages, take photos, and browse the web just by looking. But it was too expensive, the battery life was bad, and worst of all, people didn't like being recorded without their permission. It flopped hard, but AR glasses may still return someday. 16. The Tuckaway Car 1930s. A car that folds for easy parking. Parallel parking is annoying, right? What if your car could fold in half to fit into tight spaces? In the 1930s, inventors actually built a foldable car that could shrink when parked. The problem, it was mechanically complex, unreliable, and too costly to produce. Today, we have self-parking cars, but foldable ones, not yet. 17. The Fax Newspaper 1938. Before the internet, inventors had another way to deliver the news: fax machines that printed newspapers at home. In the 1930s, radio stations experimented with sending news articles to special fax printers. But the process was slow, expensive, and low quality. It never caught on, but today's digital news feeds prove the idea wasn't totally crazy. 18. The Electro Robot 1939. The first talking robot, a humanoid robot that could talk, walk, and even smoke cigarettes. Meet Electro. Introduced in 1939 at the World's Fair, people were amazed, but Electro was just a gimmick, using pre-recorded phrases and simple movements. Robots eventually became a reality, but Electro himself was left behind as a relic of the past. 19. The Rocket Mail 1930s. Sending mail at supersonic speeds. In the 1930s, engineers experimented with rocket-delivered mail, launching letters across long distances. The problem? Rockets exploded too often, and regular airmail was just more practical. Today, we have drone delivery, proving the dream of faster mail never really died. 20. The Whirlpool Aerocar 1916. Built in 1916, the Whirlpool Aerocar was supposed to be the future of public transportation, a hanging gondola that could glide over cities and rivers. But outside of tourist attractions, it never caught on. People preferred trains, buses, and cars, and the idea of citywide skytrams faded.
All this for today. Thanks for watching.